By removing the Canon R5's internal battery, the overheat timer is reset, allowing the camera to record another 30 minutes of 4K 60, 4K HQ, or 20 minutes of 8K video, all without putting it in the freezer. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Simon. Thanks for tuning into The Ordinary Filmmaker. If you're new here, subscribe to get notification of new videos like this one so you don't miss out on any news, rumors, or tutorials. And all the links to everything I talk about in this video, including gear discussed and the Canon R5 giveaway contest details, are placed in the description down below along with the affiliate links. Need camera gear or want to support this channel? Consider using the affiliate links in the description below. Okay, so if you're looking for a fix to the overheat issues, the overheat limit with the Canon EOS R5, math class on the Chinese website Beidou removed the internal battery and the overheat limitations were reset. That's right. Now this is the internal battery, not to be confused with the LPE6NH battery. He recorded 20 minutes of 8K video. Pull out the battery and when he put it back in, it reset the overheat limit, allowing it to record an additional 20 minutes of 8K video with only the time required to cool down, or the only time needed to cool down was basically pulling the battery out and putting it back in. Now, math class also discovered that after getting the overheat shut down, the internal temperature returned back to 30 degrees Celsius within 2 minutes. Now, unfortunately, removing the internal battery is not a good practice, but it does show that the overheat timer and cooldown periods are, at the very least, errors, or worst case, an attempt by Canon to artificially restrict the camera. Now, this is good news, because if Canon does want to fix this, it would not be very hard to do so. It could be delivered in a firmware update. But what do you think? How does this change your opinion of the R5 and Canon? Do you think that Canon will eliminate the overheat limits in the firmware update, or eliminate record limits, or just greatly scale them back? Let me know in the comments section down below. I only just heard about this a little while ago thanks to one of my viewers. I'm still not quite sure what to make of this. It's certainly looking like Canon is artificially restricting the record times, and that was pretty much what a lot of you were suggesting. Simply pulling the battery, the internal battery, and putting it back in, and the camera is able to record another 20 minutes of 8K or 30 minutes of 4K HQ. That's huge. So why can't Canon, in a firmware update, change this? Well, they might. But I think one thing that really will help with this is if we put a lot of pressure on Canon. If you have the R5, call it Canon customer support and say, look, you've got an issue with your camera not giving you the full amount of time that they promised. For example, with me, whenever I try to record 4K HQ, I only get about 25 minutes of record time instead of 30. So I called it in. There's a ticket open. Send Canon an email. Go to their website. If you're in the USA, go to Canon USA. If you're in Canada, Canon UK, and etc. And let's let them know that we're not happy with this. If you have a channel, then put out information saying you're unhappy with this. And let's let them know that this is really not the kind of customer experience that we expect. Like, we get it. We understand why the record limits were there, but there's no legislation anymore enforcing the need to have those record limits. So we've got the overheat limits. But why? The camera isn't overheating. We've seen a lot of tests now. Multiple people are testing this and showing that the camera isn't overheating. Moreover, despite the hardware design, which some have considered to be not ideal, and even myself think there would be a better way of doing the layout, hardware is not an issue here. This looks to be something that is artificially put in place. Now, either it's intentionally done or it's a bug. I don't want to make the assumption that Canon did set out to put in place these record limits to prevent us from properly using the modes that they've been selling us on for so many months. But the results are clear. Whenever you look at an issue, what the issue doesn't matter so much as why it's important to us and what the end results are. And the end results here is that if we are using our Canon R5s the way we normally would, taking some photos, navigating the menus, 8K, 4K 60, and 4K HQ, or even 4K 120 are significantly restricted. And the cooldown times are so long that it basically renders those modes useless to us. So we have to think very strategically. So if I need to get some video and some photos, I'm probably going to try to get that video first. I'm going to shoot that 4K HQ, and then later on I'm going to do the photos. And we shouldn't have to do that. These are creative tools. They should be able to work for us when we need them without having any sort of artificially restricted limits, whether intentional or through poor design or code design or through bugs. So yeah, the way it's looking, in my opinion, is that this is definitely something that can be easily fixed in firmware. It just, the question is that what Canon's going to do? What are we going to see? So yeah, let me know, what do you think? How do you think this is going to resolve itself? What do you think we're going to get in a firmware update? Is Canon simply going to double the limits for overheating? Are they going to shorten the cooldown times? What do you see happening? Now, I actually shot another video before this for about 20 minutes, and it took me another half an hour to go back up to 15 minutes of record time to shoot 4K HQ. So I'd really love to see them scrap the cooldown times, unless of course the camera really is overheating. Like if this camera is approaching 90 degrees Celsius, not Fahrenheit, but 90 degrees Celsius, then yes, you know, let me know. I don't want to damage the board. I don't want to damage this camera in any way whatsoever. But that's it for now. Don't forget to subscribe for your chance to win the Canon EOS R5 camera. Don't forget, I do have another video coming out in about 6 hours. It's basically a news update for what's happened in the last 24 hours. But thanks so much for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. We'll see you again soon.